What's the deal, YouTube? It's your boy Lil Man. So look, today I'm going to be talking to you guys about this NZD USD buy that I unfortunately missed, but it was a good setup and I just want to break it down for you guys just to show how I was looking at this market, and I got a counter trend trade in an overall bearish market. So let's start on the clear charts and let's go ahead and start breaking this down. So on the weekly time frame, we can see what's happening with price, right? We can see we're breaking structures all to the downside, right? And we just keep breaking structures, right? And then our last low would be this low down here, right? So if that's our last low in the weekly, what's our last high? Our last lower high? Well, it would be after this break right here, right? And what is the supply that created that break? It would be this region right here, right? So now that we know where the weekly range is, we can use that to help us identify where price could be heading, right? So now if we go to the daily, you'll see what I'm talking about. So on a daily time frame, even though this is the weekly range, we can see that price broke structure here. We can see price broke structure again here. And then we can see price broke structure down here, right? Smaller time frames, internal liquidity. So basically price was, I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this up, or we can even start here. So it was a high, it was a low, and this is external liquidity, just the swing points. I mean, not external liquidity, external structure, just the swing points on the daily. So high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, minor break, lower low, lower high, and then lower low, right? So on the daily, this is just how this is channeling, right? High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So now that we have identified our range, right, we can go to lower time frames and see what's happening even more. So on this pair last week, I was trying to get into sales, right, and it was off this level right here, right? So I was looking for sales here on this level because price was overall bearish, right? On the daily time frame, price is overall bearish, breaking lows, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So if the price is bearish overall, then you obviously want to be selling with the trend, right? You don't want to be trying to look for buys if price is still and structure is still bearish, right? You still want to be looking for sales. So I was looking for sales at this level here, but as you can tell, we had low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then price just kept breaking right above structure, right? So we couldn't really get into sales right here. And then if you look on the daily time frame, that wouldn't even be a good level to sell from, because from this high to this low, we can draw a fib, even though I don't really use fibs anymore. But we can see that the 50% range is right here, right? So if we have our fib on there, we can tell that we weren't even past the 50% range, right? So we wouldn't want to be looking for sales right here. And then also this level here is also liquidity, right? Because liquidity can come in a lot of shapes and forms, right? Liquidity can be trendline liquidity, right? And then price gets taken out for the move higher. Price could be, like it is right now, structural liquidity for price to get taken out and for it to do whatever to move, right? Price could be, liquidity could be in the form of double tops, right? And then price takes it out to make the move whichever way it wants to go, right? Because it could take it out and then continue to move lower, right? And it could be in the form of double bottoms, right? Take out. So liquidity comes in a lot of shapes and forms, right? You just have to be able to know how to spot them, right? So with that out the way, let's go ahead and break down this trade that I was gonna take, right? Because I didn't actually enter the trade. I got stopped out in the buy position right before it actually made that initial move I was waiting for. So let's go ahead and break it down in the actual chart. So I was just trying to explain to you guys what the what price action was showing me. So like I said, basically on a weekly time frame, price had this high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and lower low, right? And you can even see on the weekly time frame the structure down here that we identified that supply level on. You can't even see it on the weekly time frame, right? You can just see this low, lower high, and then clearly break to make a lower low, right? So you can't really see it on the weekly time frame, so it wouldn't be a strong zone, right? Because if you could see, like if you could see something like this on the weekly time frame, you see I mitigated this level, this would look something better, right? Because you can actually see the candles going up and then going down. Even lower time frame, that's what it looks like. But on the weekly time frame, it would just be stronger, right? And then that's why you see it on the daily, just 2 weeks. And if you go down lower, then you'll actually see the move. So you'll see, but that didn't hold, right? So since that didn't hold, this is what I was looking at. So we can just go ahead and get off these charts and go to my actual chart, right? So, and I'm still overall bearish right here, right? This is just the target I was targeting. This is just the level I was targeting to be able to go with the trend, because like I said, the trend is still overall bearish, right? So you wouldn't want to be taking buys. This is just a short-term buy counter trend trade I was going to take, right? To then initially fall in trend or fall in line with the overall daily trend, right? It was just a counter trend up right here. So let's go ahead and talk about it now. So like I said, the daily and the weekly time frame were still bearish, right? So we wouldn't want to be looking for buys. But if we go down to the lower time frame, like the 4 hour, we knew that we were daily bearish overall, right? And then we broke the structure, right? Low, lower high, lower low. But then we had internal structure right here, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low. You can even count this or whatever you want to call it, right? Lower low and broke, or oops. You can even count this, right? Lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So price was, the range was from here to here, lower time frame, right? Because in daily time frame, it's still looking like this. And this is right here where all this is at, right? But on the lower time frame, like the 4 hour that we're on, it looks like this. You can still see the range, right? So on the 4 hour time frame, once we break out of structure like this is the last lower high, we can start looking for levels. Once we get that double confirmation, we can start looking for levels to buy into, right? And you shouldn't always be looking for this, right? Because the higher time frame overall bearish, you should only be looking for sales. So you should be waiting for something like this in lower time frames to happen. So even if price does break out of structure, you should wait for a price to break back into structure, right? And then trade from those zones, because that's the more likely scenario, and that's how price would move rather than to come back up for a pullback, right? Because you shouldn't be trying to have reasons to buy into pullbacks, right? You should only be wanting to take the market down. So if the market's heading down, right? And once you see this, that could just be a liquidity grab, right? Price could come into the supply level and then keep going down, right? So you wouldn't want to try to get into trades that look like this and then break structure and then comes up and then does something like this, because this could all be liquidity forming right here, right? Liquidity on these lows, and then price takes them out and then keeps continuing to move, right? But this is just a short-term trade and the probabilities were there, so I took it. So let's go ahead and explain it now since I'm done talking about it. So daily time frame bearish, like I said, 4 hour we hopped in there and I started seeing structure shift, right? So I said this is internal structure, because daily structure is still this low to this high to this lower low. So the range is from this lower high to this lower low, right? But if you zoom in, going on the lower time frame, we can see that we had a breaking structure here, right? And we closed under, so this is a break. And then we closed back above here, right? So we had lower low, lower high, lower low, and then we broke, right? And as you can tell, we had impulsive breaks, or we had impulsive moves up, right? So you can see this move was impulsive. This move had an impulsive move. This move was impulsive. And then this is in hindsight, but still, this move is impulsive, right? So you can see how the market was trying trying to go up rather than go down, right? It was impulsing up and then correcting down. So impulse up, correction down. Impulse up, correction down. If I can draw this right. Impulse up, small impulse, tiny correction. Impulse up, kind of correction range, correction, and then impulse up, right? So that's just how the market flows and how it moves. So as you guys can already see on the screen, we had this break right here. So we had a lower low, lower high, lower low. And then once we started breaking above structure, so I wasn't looking for buys automatically right here, because we could still come back down and probably take out liquidity off this level and this level and then push back down, right? Because overall time frame is still bearish, right? So I was waiting for anything to sell here, and like I said, I got into sales here and then I closed out, or no, I was gonna get into sales here, but it just didn't make that much sense to me, right? And the probabilities weren't there. So once I seen this structure start forming, so we had a break above these highs right here, which I thought was liquidity, and I thought it was going to come back down, but instead we broke up again. Small time frame. Let me just go to it. So we started breaking up again, right? We were in this range, broke up, broke down, broke up again, right? And then we had this imbalance level right here. So I knew price could come back and react to this level, and then I was going to see what it wanted to do, right? So I wasn't going to get into buys right here because this would be too early. So I wanted to see if price could come back up and break above these levels, right? And that's exactly what it did. So it came back, took out this liquidity, hit this imbalance demand level, and then it started shifting, right? And it started breaking. And then it was in this range, and then broke out of this range, right? After taking out this liquidity. So you can see it's the same thing right here, right? This is the same thing as this right here, right? Because you can see we moved up, we had a range, we took out the sellers, and then we took out the buyers, and then we moved up, right? And then same thing for this one. We moved up, we had a range, took out the sellers, took out the buyers, and then we moved up, right? So you just have to know where you are in the flow of price to be able to trade with it, right? So like I said, we had this lower low, lower high, lower low. We broke out of the structure, right? Because this is our range high, and this is our range low. So we broke out of that, and then once we broke out of that, we just started making moves to the upside, right? And I knew that, or not knew, but usually price should just start trickling down, right? But instead it wanted to come back up to this imbalance level, right? Into this supply level, right? And this is where I'm looking this week for sales. And if it breaks past this one, then it wants a deeper daily retracement, weekly retracement, and then it could come into the levels up here, up in the 64, 65 kind of area up here. But for now, I'm looking for sales in this area to continue back down to this low, because this low right here is the liquidity point right now for this range that we're in. So like I said, we were in that range, right? Broke up, took out the sellers, took out the buyers, came back, filled this imbalance level right here that I have marked out, filled that, and I wasn't able to get into this trade, right? Because I woke up too late. So I woke up at like 7:30 or 8:30 or something like that, and this is already like 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I woke up. So I woke up and price is already right here, and I thought that we were gonna get a liquidity build up right here, just like we did here, and price was gonna be able to drop after making this impulsive move, and I was gonna get into buys right here for the move back up, right? But as you can tell, that didn't happen. Price just came and then took off, and it was also because of some CPI data news, right? Because the dollar correlates with the NZD USD, obviously, so it was a little bit of news involved with that. But anyways, that was the trade. And if you want to recap, basically we're in a higher time frame bearish flow, right? So high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. But on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that, so this is the overall high and this is the low, right? The range. But internal structure, we can see that we had a high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? And then we started breaking out of that structure, right? So once we started breaking out of that structure, that don't mean automatically buy, right? Because price could just start breaking back down, and all this right here could be liquidity, right? And then price could come up, hit this level like it is right now, and then just dump off, take out all these buyers right here, right? So if you were to buy, the only region you would target would be this area right here, right? Just because there's supply level left with an imbalance, right? Or if it breaks this level, then you could be targeting up to here, right? But these are the only two levels that you would target, right? This level and this level. And the only reason you would buy, not because you wanted a pullback, but because you knew that the daily wanted a deeper retracement, right? Because this level here was just internal structure, and the actual structure is lower low, lower high, lower low, right? Because this caused the break of this low, and it put in this new lower low, right? So basically, it was lower low, lower high, lower low, broke out of structure, started impulsing up lower time frames. Let's go lower time frame. Take out this. So it broke structure, like I said. So now I was not even paying attention to this. I was just looking here really, and I knew that this is the area I was trying to target, right? So broke structure here, created liquidity, tapped into the demand level, imbalance level, and the impulse back up, right? Created liquidity more here, took it out right here, had liquidity right here forming, and then price came, took that out, hit this imbalance level right here, and then hit this demand level to the T, right? And then bounced straight up. So that's what the trade looked like. And now on NZD USD for this week, since that trade is over, I'll be looking for sales here, right? Because like I said, the overall time frame or the overall flow is still bearish, right? We're still having low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So nothing changed higher time frame. So you wouldn't want to keep looking for buys, right? You don't want to switch for sell. You don't want to switch back to sales if you're looking for buys, right? Unless structure starts to look like this, right? And then we break this level. And then once we break this and we don't have something that looks like this, and it could just be liquidity taken out here for all these sellers. And if we don't have something that looks like this and price breaks back down and then trades lower, then we could just be looking for more buys to continue up, right? But that's what you gotta wait for price to do before you can start predicting any movement. So let's just look what price does and then trade from it. So hope you learned something from this video, and have a good day. Peace out.